Hey! Happy Sunday and welcome to episode 2 of Soul Centered Millionaire TV. I'm going to give it a couple of seconds for people to get logged in. And if I'm talking a little bit funny, please excuse me. It's because I've had some work done at the dentist. I went to the dentist on Friday to have some wisdom teeth removed on the left side, which I am going to tell you a little bit about in tonight's slot because we're talking about fear tonight. So tonight's training is very apt to share my dentist experience with you because on the subject of fear it's very, very relevant for me. Hey guys, let me know when you're logged in and listening. Hey Joanne, yeah, very painful, I'm not going to lie, it was pretty painful. Hey Tatiana, so yeah, so I've got like it's not too, I've took tablets before coming on to talk to you tonight, so it's not too bad, but you'll notice that I'm holding my mouth a little bit different to normal, and that's why. Hey Kerry, hey Charlotte, nice to see you all. Okay, so guys, as you're getting logged in tonight, give me a hashtag live if you're watching live. Let me know if you're watching on replay by giving me a hashtag replay. And if you're new and you've never caught one of my live trainings before, I'd love for you to let me know by giving me a hashtag newbie. So this is episode 2 of Soul Centered Millionaire TV. And I'm really excited because it's a new live training series that has started this year that for me was really important because I wanted to create a space where strategy meets source, because building a millionaire business, a millionaire lifestyle for me has been based on 2 things. It's been based on business strategy, obviously. We need to know the practical how-tos. But it's also been a journey of spiritual growth, connecting to source, universe, on God. It doesn't really matter what you call it. It's been both of those things, and being able to connect with the part of myself that always has the answers and knows what to do. So this new series is me out in that side of my journey, no longer calling it mindset, stepping into that spiritual space alongside strategy and still the sort of no BS approach that I've always served up a dose of every week, but with a sprinkle of magic and sparkle, because it's true, you know, it's what I'm about. There's no point in me holding that stuff back. And last week I shared a series of synchronicities that led me to starting this new channel. And I use the word synchronicities because I've always said that I don't believe in coincidences. I believe that everything happens with a strong intention. I believe that we are meant to meet certain people at a certain time. I believe we're meant to find things at a certain time. I believe we get called to take certain action. And sometimes things just line up to guide us in the right direction. And that's why I've never used or stopped using for a long time now the word coincidence. However, I was watching a podcast the other day of one of my absolute idols and mentors, Wayne Dyer, who was one of the most incredible spiritual teachers of all time. And in that podcast, he said, he was talking about coincidence, the word. And he said, you know, the coincidence, the word itself is a mathematical term. And it's actually a term that's used to describe 2 angles that fit together perfectly. That's what coincidence means. 2 things that come together, fit together perfectly. We've interpreted that as 2 things that fit together randomly or by accident. We've just misinterpreted the word coincidence. So I now use the word coincidence because it's the perfect way to describe things that are just meant to happen when they're meant to happen the way they're meant to happen. So I feel I'm able to use that word again. So I just wanted to share that with you because I think it's really interesting on the subject of coincidence. So guys, I can see there's lots more people joining now. Hey, thank you for joining episode 2. Give me a hashtag live. Let me know if you're watching live. Let me know if you're watching on replay with hashtag replay. And if you're a newbie, give me a hashtag newbie and let me know it's the first time logging in so that I can say hey and welcome you to this weekly live series. Last week, having shared why I started this and a really personal journey, I guess, and personal realisation. Hey Debbie, I'm going to stop saying hello to everybody now because I won't get anything done. But Having shared that last week, and if you missed episode 1, you can find it on this page. If you scroll down a little bit, you'll see it from last Monday. I got a lot of really positive and awesome messages in the comments section, also in my inbox. And one of the common things that was asked off the back of last week was, Michelle, I understand it, I get it, I believe that, you know, there's a universe source, I believe in everything that you're saying, but I struggle to connect to it. I don't know how to get into alignment. I don't know how to connect to that part of myself. I don't know how to stay in alignment. It was really common, popular thread. Give me some hearts if you feel a little bit like that. You know, I get that there's the universe. I get that there's, maybe you call it God, or, you know, I know there's some higher intelligence, higher force. I know that when I'm kind of at my best, everything seems to work out for me. But I don't know how to stay in that space or even get into that space of true alignment. Give me some hearts if that's you, or that you feel like you bounce in and out of alignment maybe. Now, this is one of the biggest things that came up last week, but it's something that comes up over and over and over again. And what I want to talk about tonight, and I've got loads of notes here to share with you. I spent a large chunk of my afternoon preparing this for you today. And I always write pen to paper when I'm preparing any content. I think that's why I love and why I became an author, because I love physically writing. It doesn't flow as easily when I'm typing and technology's involved, but when I put pen to paper, it just comes out. It just comes out like the floodgates open. It's really hard to describe. Then if any of you can relate to that. So I've got loads of notes here, so I don't miss anything for you. So one of the biggest things is when it comes to alignment, and the thing that I say every time I get asked the question, how do I get into true alignment, or I'm struggling, or the thing I always respond is, alignment is found when there is an absence of fear and an abundance of joy. That's where that sweet spot is. That's where that connection to source is found. And I'm going to say it one more time. Alignment is found when there is an absence of fear and an abundance of joy. You know those moments where everything is just working out. Everything just feels incredible. Time flies without you knowing where it's gone. People call that you want to speak to. You bump into people when you've thought of them. You just feel joy, like it's going to burst out of your chest. You're excited about everything. It's in those moments where there's no fear, but just pure joy. That's where real alignment and connection to source is found. That's where we hear what we need to hear from within. Now, here's how I think of alignment, and I've written this down, and I'm going to look at it a little bit as I'm sharing it with you, because, as I said, it just came out when I started writing, and I want to make sure that I get it right for you. So how I think of alignment, or the source connection, is that we're all part of this ultimate life force. Call it God, Allah, Krishna, universe. We're all talking about the same thing. Some people call it intuition. It's like an intelligence, a life force that everything is made by, and we're part of it. It's not separate from us. I imagine it like a huge light, and we have a proportion of that light inside of us, and that bit inside of us, some people call that our soul. Some people call it our higher self, our spirit. Some people call it intuition. But it's that part of us that's totally pure in terms of vibration. It contains only the good stuff, the pure love, the pure joy, the kindness, the calm, all of the peace, the good stuff, the good vibrational feelings. And the other stuff is made up from just brain gunk, which is how I refer to it. You know, the mind stuff, the noise, the static, stuff that goes on up here but doesn't come from here. The stuff that goes on up here is normally other people's impressions and thoughts and beliefs that have been passed on to us. The thing that goes on outside there that causes fears and static and noise. You know, just the same shit replaying most days. You know, most of the fears that we replay are the same ones over and over and over and over every single day, and it's brain gunk. It doesn't come from this true essence part of us. It doesn't come from this higher being that's inside of all of us, this all-knowing part of us. You know, that part of us that we get glimmers of every now and then, that's just totally courageous and totally awesome and totally loving and kind. Or that part of us that just knows things every now and then and you're not quite sure how it knows things. It doesn't come from there. The brain gunk is something completely different. It's almost mechanical in its form. It's built in like it would be built into an animal. It's instinctual. It's fight or flight mode. It's the stuff that's designed to keep us alive and thrive, but it's not designed to keep us living a fulfilled, purposeful life. It's just the stuff that goes up in here, and most of it's passed around down through generations as well. You know, our parents' fears, our grandparents' fears, all the stuff just replayed. It doesn't come from the true essence. That's how I describe alignment. That soul part of us that always knows what to do, that always knows how to handle any challenge, that always has the answers, that will always guide us, is the part of you that's brave, the part of you that's brilliant. And you, the part, you know it exists. That's the thing, like I know you do. Even if you've not labelled it or thought too deeply about it, you know it's there. You know you can call on it. You know there's something more than just the physical body. You feel it calling out to you, and it's that bit. And when we can connect with that and really listen to what it's trying to tell us, that's what I call alignment. That's what I call connection to source. And I just wanted to make that clear so we know what I'm sharing with you tonight. Now the thing with that is you cannot operate from the highest part of yourself, the true infinite potential that you have, when you're stuck in fear. You can't. It's impossible. So what I want to share with you tonight is some ways to become unstuck when it comes to getting out of fear. And it's split into two parts because, as I said before, this is all about, this new live series every week is about where strategy meets source. So I want to give you 2 hacks from a strategic, non-woo-woo, practical point of view on how to get out of fear, and 2 hacks from a spiritual growth point of view, an energetic way to get out of fear so that you can get into alignment and listen. Because we only get to work from this part of ourselves, this soul-driven part of ourselves that can do, be, have, create anything you want to, anything, if we step out of the way, if we remove the brain gunk and the fear and everything else so this other part of ourself can shine through. The part of ourself that's courageous enough to stand on stage in front of millions of people, even though the brain funk makes you feel sick at the thought of it. The part of ourself that has all of the answers and contains all of your potential and ability. That's the bit we want to shine through. So we need to eradicate the fear. So let's start with the practical, non-woo-woo strategy, 2 hacks to getting rid of fear. Okay, number 1, whatever it is that's scaring you, whatever it is that's keeping you stuck right now, I want you to face it and look it dead in the eye. There's a lot to be said about facing your fear. Some of the best advice has been around for hundreds and hundreds of years, and it's become so overused that we become desensitized to it. Face your fear is one of those things. When we face something head on, decide to stare right at it and deal with it, it becomes less powerful. It has less of an effect on us. What we're trying to do is shift the feelings of fear so this awesomeness can step through. So let's take away its power by staring it in the eye and facing it. Now this comes in really like 2 parts. The first part is whatever's scaring you, let's go there with what's the worst thing that can happen. Let's really, really choose to go there and follow that rabbit for a minute and give yourself permission to. Let's go there and figure out what is the worst thing that could possibly happen if the worst thing happens and my fear comes true. Let's say you're frightened, for example, of going broke, of failing in business, running out of money and ending up with nothing. Let's say that's what you worry about the most, the thing that keeps you the most stuck. And I use this because it's a really common one. And it's why I've invested so much of my life's work into money mindset and helping people manage fear around money and create a better relationship on a vibrational level with money. because I know this fear can be really real, although it's not real. So let's say that's the fear. How would we face a fear like that head on? Well, let's really go there. Let's say we do fail. We don't bring in the money we want by the time we want. What's the worst thing that's going to happen? And then what's the worst thing that's going to happen? And then what's the worst thing going to happen? And what are we left with? Do we die? Probably not. Are we in real danger? Probably not. Is our life being threatened? Probably not. Have we still got things to be grateful for, even if the worst thing happened? Would we deal with it? Would we cope with it? Are we stronger than we know? Yeah. We are stronger than we know. We would cope with it. There'd still be blessings, and we'd find a way to work it out. We're not in danger. Fears are built in, almost like primal instinct, to help you go into fight or flight mode and run from the danger or fight it. Now, 21st century dangers don't really exist. You're not going to be chased by a bear anytime soon to compete for food or anything like that. So we don't need to exist in this fight or flight mode. And when we just go there and face something, generally it's not half as bad as it's been feeling in our chest when we're experiencing that fear and anxiety. And the second thing is facing it and going, now how am I going to prevent it? What action am I going to take? The quickest way to shift fear is to spring into action. If something scares you, do it anyway. Success isn't built in the absence of fear. Successful people don't have less fear than non-successful people. Successful people just choose to do things in spite of the fear. They feel the fear and they do it anyway. And that's the difference. It's not the absence of fear, it's choosing. It's making a decision to face it and do it anyway. Face it and take action anyway. If we're scared of going broke, what do I need to do about it? Practically, what plan can I put in place to make sure that doesn't become my reality? What steps can I take and how can I start taking action now? Because in action, we breed belief. We breed confidence. In inaction and avoidance and burying our heads is where we start to feel doubtful and scared. Inaction breeds fear. Action breeds belief. So the best thing we can do for ourselves as the first point is to take massive amounts of action. Anything that frightens you, I promise you, you can become desensitized to by facing it. And I'm just going to use a really simple example now for you and be vulnerable with you for a minute and share my silly side of one of my fears. One of my biggest fears, and you'll have heard me talk about this at the beginning of the live, is the dentist. I know that it comes from being a child. My mum's quite scared of the dentist, so probably inherited like some of that anxiety from her, from picking up on her anxiety. When I can remember visiting the dentist when I was a child and being terrified, the smells, the sounds, everything about it was horrific. I can also remember my dad going to visit the dentist and coming back and saying he was in more pain than he was when he went, and he was in agony and he was rolling around with it and his face was all swollen. I remember looking at him and deciding in that moment that dentists were not to be trusted. And that then manifested into my reality in terms of my teeth, and how when I looked after them, I just completely avoided the dentist. I didn't go to the dentist for a really long time. The only thing that would get me there is if I was in pain. Of course, by the time you're in pain, there's a problem and you're going to have work done, which is not nice, which reinforces that the dentist is a bad place, and it reinforces that fear, and it becomes even stronger because it's avoidance. And then I created this reality of it being a scary, painful place, because every time I go, I've got to have work and it's awful. I made a conscious decision at the start of last year to change this. I went and found an awesome dentist that I wanted to build a relationship with and help me break down the fear. And I was really honest with him. I said, this is the fear, this is what I've got, this is what's going on for me. I don't even want you to look in my mouth, I'm scared of what you're going to find. And he had a look, and I needed some work doing. But we did it gradually. Started off with like scale and polish, and I went back regularly for that. Then he did a fill-in, and then he's like, okay, now these wisdom teeth have got to come out. And on Friday, I made the decision to let him do that work. I faced that fear head on, and I had the wisdom teeth out. And it might sound like something really small, but to me that fear was real. It was a physical fear in my body. Whenever I visited the dentist, I'd physically react to that. I'd shake, I'd feel sick. I'd try and talk myself out of it. My brain would start doing all the stuff we do when we get scared of something, looking for excuses why it's okay to just stay the same and get out of that situation. All of that stuff went on. But recognising it was fear and choosing to do it anyway has desensitised me to the dentist, to the point where I'm actually quite enjoying getting all this work done and getting my teeth looking and feeling great. And every time I go, it gets less and less of a deal for me. Now it's just becoming one of the things that I do. You can become desensitised to anything when you stare it down, look it in the eye and take action. Hack number 2, practical hack number 2, and then we're going to move on to the spiritual hacks. Commit and burn your bridges behind you. You know, when something, like when a fear threatens to stop us from taking action in a way that's going to see us progress on a path that that you desire, whether that be more money, more success in your business, whatever it might be. When fear steps in and threatens that, it's really important to have some accountability in that moment, to pledge with pride how you're going to overcome it and allow yourself to be held accountable for it. We do more when someone's watching. It's just human nature. There was a really fascinating experiment done on this where people that work remotely from home they were split into test subjects, and some of them had test groups. Some of them had full-size images of their boss on the wall in the office, and those people were more productive and outperformed the others because it was just that feeling of the boss being there watching them made them work harder, and having to see the boss and the person that they were accountable to made them work harder. There's so many studies that have gone into this stuff that when we declare and hold ourselves accountable and commit out loud to other people and we know someone's watching us, we always take more action. So if something frightens us, it makes sense to burn our bridges behind us, put ourselves in a position where we have to overcome it by telling other people what we're about to do. One of the fears that I see coming up on replay, almost like on loop, and because of the job that I do, being a coach to female entrepreneurs, one of the biggest fears I see playing over and over is the fear of investing in ourselves in case we fail. And obviously I see that a lot because people come to me looking for help on how to be more successful in their business because they recognise they need help. It's one of those, if you don't know, you don't know. Like if you don't know what you need, you don't know what you need, and you could be going around in circles and not even know why. And that's why business coaching is the place where people come and say, look, I know I need help because I just don't know what I don't know, help me. But then when we talk about what that's going to look like, and then it can come to committing, financially committing, money is the currency of commitment, this puts a wall up for a lot of people. The fear starts stacking up really quickly. And things come up like, what if I invest in me and I fail? What if I invest and I go broke? What if nothing changes? What if I get the help and I'm still not successful, and then I'm just a lost cause and I have to give up on everything? These things come up strong, and I see it a lot, obviously, because of what I do. And what's actually happening here is there's a lot of fears at play. What if I'm not good enough? What if I'm good enough and I do succeed? How will that impact my life? Sometimes the fear of success can be in there as well. There's not enough money. That's a big fear. There's not enough money for me. There's a scarcity around money. There's a lot of things that come up, and things that it's really hard as a coach because you see someone's true potential. You see what's on the other side of that fear for them. You can get the vision. You've worked with enough people and gone through it yourself to know what's the other end, but you can't make them push through it. And that can be the hardest part. Now, when it comes to doing something different, rather than in that moment saying, maybe it's not the right time. That's normally what comes up. Yeah, maybe the timing's off, because they take this fear and they form an excuse with it. Maybe when I'm earning more, I'll do it then. Or in a few months when, or these things start coming up a little bit like me trying to get out of the dentist in my mind, like, okay, I'm all right with these wisdom teeth, it's fine, I can just keep them in. They're not hurting me. You start justifying it, and this is what I see a lot in women that are about to invest in themselves or not. Maybe I can just do it alone. I'll just keep doing this, or I'll do it. They start justifying, And rather than doing that, even if it's just not physically possible right now, it's about holding ourselves accountable to make it happen. And saying to the coach that you want to work with, do you know what, this terrifies the shit out of me right now. I'm being really honest with you. I'm scared. I can feel the fear, but I know I've got to push through it. I know I need help. So here's what I want to do. I want to pay you a deposit of this amount. This is my commitment to working with you on this date. And then I'm going to go away and I'm going to say to my husband or best friend, I'm going to transfer this amount of money to you every week for between now and the next 8 weeks to pay for this, because I'm committed to doing it. I'm scared of doing it, but I'm committing, and I'm burning my bridges behind me, and I'm declaring it, and I want you to hold me accountable for this. This is happening, and this is the money that's going to be transferred, because now people know. And the more people that know, and the more we declare it and pledge it and allow ourselves to be held accountable, the bigger the commitment we've just made, the more intense, the more deep the commitment. It's not a flaky, yeah, I'll do it in a few months when commitment. It's a commitment. We are now pushing through this fear and it's happening. And because people are there watching, I've got to fucking make it happen. This has to work for me. And something really transformative happens in those moments. It's a different kind of commitment. Hey, Catherine. So that's number 2 on the practical. We're going to move on to the 2 spiritual hacks now on a vibrational, energetic level in terms of shifting fear, getting connected to source and getting aligned with exactly what we want to have success. So hack number 1. You cannot be in fear and be in love. You can't be stuck in fear and be in a place of love. Now what I mean by that is, energetically, these 2 things are so separate, they're so different, that you can't be coming from the place of both. If we're just grounded in love for something, there's no room for fear. They come from 2 places, like I said at the start. We've got the brain gunk, where all the fear and all the negative vibrations come from, and then we've got the true essence of who we are, which is pure love. If we're operating from here, there's no room to operate from here, because it's just way more powerful. So we get to choose love over fear. No matter what it is that we're frightened of, we get to make that choice by switching the perception, the thinking, the feeling to love. Let's use the old analogy the old example, that we've used previously in this training, that I'm scared, I don't have enough money, I won't have enough money, money's going to run out, and that voice, that driving force of scarcity around money. Let's use that as an example on how we can shift that to love. You see, what happens when we play that is every time money comes up as a subject, whether it be a bill, whether it be parting with it for investment into you, whatever, the initial reaction is going to be fear, because it's around the subject of money and we're attaching fear to that subject. So it's always going to see us acting in a way that's out of alignment with abundance and what we can really have and create for ourselves. But we get to choose love instead. We get to fall in love with money and everything about it. I have been quoted saying a few times, and sometimes criticised for, but I still will say this to you now with pride, that I love money. I love everything about money. I love everything it's given me. It is one of the biggest loves of my life. When I say it, it throws up stuff for the people listening, not for me. If there are any stuff that comes up around money for you, it will surface probably when you hear me say that. For example, if there's a belief that people that love money will always choose it over people, maybe she'll step on people to get to money. Maybe money's more important to her than anything else in the world. That makes her a bad person. That makes her selfish. That makes her materialistic. Things start to come up. Notice what comes up for you. I don't take offence by any of it. I know that I love money because money is pure energy at its core, like we all are, and there's no reason to fear it or hate it. Just doing so keeps us broke. What's the point in that? There are so many wonderful, amazing things that we get to do because of money. Just think about where you are right now. Whatever device you're watching this on, money paid for that. You wouldn't have it without the currency of money. the seat that I'm sat on right now, money paid for that, the house that I'm in. How can we not love money and everything about it? We get to choose that emotion. We get to choose to fall in love with it every day. Every time we see it show up, it can be a prompt for us to just fill ourselves up with love, really feel the feelings of it. Even if we don't have a lot when we start this process, I didn't have a lot when I started this process. We get to choose to love a bill that comes through the door instead of fearing it, because we get a choice. You know, if a bill drops on the mat, through the letterbox, it drops on the doormat, you have a choice. You can look at that bill and go, oh, bill, oh God, and switch to fear and lack of and scarcity, the brain gunk. Or you can switch to love and energy and source. Because really, if it's a water bill, for example, you get water that comes out of a tap every day. And you get to pay for that just as a bare necessity. How many people, you've seen images on the TV or maybe even travelled to countries where that's not possible. And they walk miles barefoot in baking heat, dehydrated and feeling like shit for water that's not even clean. And yours comes out of your tap, but you want to feel fear when you got to pay for it? Seriously? Like, this is where we need to give ourselves a checkup from the neck up and fall in love with everything associated with money. You're living in the Western world. You don't have anything to fear when it comes to lack of or poverty. You just don't. And anything that's telling you do is brain funk, it's beliefs, it's passed on, it's old shit replaying every day is not true. And you get every day to choose love. Maybe you're fearing something else. Maybe what you're fearing is showing up. This is another really common fear that stands in the way of amazing women and the success that they could have and the difference they could make in the world. They get scared to show up. They fear what people will think. They fear judgment. They fear going live and sharing the message in only the way that they can share it, because they start worrying, what if I'm not enough? What if people don't like what I've got to say? What if I'm too much and everybody's looking at me and then I become really big? What if? What about falling in love with you? That you can't fear who you are and love yourself completely at the same time. There's no room. What about just totally accepting and falling in love with you? What about choosing to get up in the morning every day and look in the mirror and look at every single inch of you and give gratitude and love and thanks for every bit of awesomeness? Rather than looking at our chubby cheeks when we're talking on live videos and judging that, maybe look at them and go, wow, I got decent skin, and these teeth that I've been moaning about, they chew food really well, and I get to eat, and I love to eat, and my thighs that I'm always moaning look too fat, they carry me around, and that means I can walk and see the beautiful scenery that is around my home where I walk, and I get to walk my dogs and experience. We can give gratitude for every little bit of ourselves, but we can also fall in love with the process of ever improving. Fall in love with becoming better, fall in love with the books that we're going to read to be better, fall in love with the journey of progression, fall in love with the person we're becoming as well as the person we are right now. You can't love yourself completely and then fear shining your light. We can always choose to switch to love. Always. Okay, number 2. Release the how and relax into the feeling of being supported and guided divinely. This is about trust, guys. Huge amounts of trust, because nothing works without it. Everything starts with trust, and nothing works without it. You know, you're not gonna follow the sat-nav in your car if you don't trust it's taking you to the destination. You're not gonna get on a plane to go on your holiday if you don't trust it's gonna carry you through the sky and deliver you safely. You don't do anything unless you trust, right? Exactly the same is for the universe and the way we relax in its support for us and know that it's got this. Just because we don't understand how it's going to work doesn't mean it's not going to work. It's when we get all involved with this and stop just allowing the process to unfold, that we start causing resistance and start doing things the way we think it should be done. We start interfering and getting in the way of the just divine path that's going to just unfold, and all we've got to do is follow it. Seriously, guys, when we adopt this attitude, we become like children, and there is nothing more powerful. We can live our lives like children on an amazing treasure hunt. It's like knowing what treasure we want, which is our goal, pulling it out there, and then having faith, yes, so literally, as I was about to say it, that the path to the treasure will lay out, and all we've got to do is look for the signs and follow them and have fun and get fascinated and go on this big adventure. Let's not take life too seriously. Let's not take success and money and all these things that we're in pursuit of so seriously that we stop having fun with it, because when we're on fun, we're on the vibration of receiving. When we're in joy, we're on the vibration of receiving. When we just let go of fear, relax and just allow, and almost just allow yourself to fall into that higher intelligence that knows. It just knows, and you don't right now. It's trust. You know, when we get up in the morning and it's still dark and we reach for the light switch, we don't reach for it filled with anxiety that it might not turn on because I don't quite understand how all the wiring works. We just know it's gonna. We don't have to understand it. We don't board the aeroplane thinking it might come down because I don't quite know how this big old heavy thing is keeping up in the air. Like, how does that work? We just know it's gonna carry us. It just does. We don't quite understand the logistics of the sat nav in the car, but we follow it blindly, knowing that it's going to take us to our destination. And the universe is exactly the same. We don't have to know the how. We just need to trust that it will. And all our job is, all it is set our intention, release it. Be super clear about what you want it to look like. Release it. Get on the vibration of joy. Get out of fear. Look for the signs, follow them, and take divine guided inspiration and action. That's it, job done. That is it. When people show up and you know you were meant to meet them, and you know you were meant to work with them, reach out. When you see a post on Facebook and it just gives you a bit of internal guidance and you kind of know that you've got to act on something, do it. If you feel called to go somewhere spontaneously, go. You know, I've had the best one-off encounters with people when I've just acted on pure guidance, inner guidance, divine guidance. You know, I'm going to share a story with you now that makes me really emotional whenever I share it, and I don't know that I've shared it like this before because it's so woo-woo that previously, before I was really ready to share all this stuff so openly, I was worried that I'd be judged, I suppose, loved less. It was a fear, it was ridiculous. And I'm totally free of that now, and I want to share this with you. So a few years ago, James and I were living, and this is just one example of many that I could share, but I want to share this one. James and I were living in a camper van. Our online business was good, but still, you know, quite small, like in terms of what it is now. It was a modest business. We were very proud of our success. It had given us an opportunity to just, you know, sell everything, rent our house out, get in a camper van and go and see some of the things we'd always wanted to see. It was one of our goal board dreams to do, and we were doing it. Travelling predominantly around the UK, and I love the sunshine. I love being in nature as well. I feel closest to source when I'm in nature. I can feel the sun on my face, and there's nothing brings me more joy than blue skies. And it was coming up for the winter in the UK. Being in a camper van in the winter was starting to lose its magic for me. And I was starting to feel this familiar kind of, it's time for a change feeling. For a long time at that point, I'd been, you know, connecting to source and listening for guidance and following my intuition on everything that I did. And I was feeling called to be elsewhere. And immediately fear steps in. What am I going to do? Where am I going to go? I don't want to be in the camper van anymore. I've rented my house. How do I want to go back to my house? Oh my God, do I need to buy a house? Oh my God, I can't buy a house yet. The brain gunk steps in. And I decided to not go there and decided to go here instead. Quiet my mind, light a candle, incense. I always light a candle. I always put some incense on. I'll sit with my journal and I'll start getting really clear about what I want. Maybe do some breathing, meditation type exercises first, and then just allow it to flow out. And I started to write down questions like, where do I feel called to be, and what needs to be included in my next move for it to be the right move for me. And I ended up with a list. And on that list, it said blue skies every day. I let go of outcomes when I was writing this list. You know, blue skies every day meant leaving the UK. I'm really close to my family. Fear could have come up at that point, but I just allowed it to flow. Blue skies every day. Palm trees and cactus visible from my window every morning. It was just something that I just had this vision of being able to look out, blue skies, palm trees and cactus. So I knew it was like a tropical climate, not too far from the UK, that I could get home if I wanted to if I needed to for some reason, for family. To live in a house that was big enough so my family could come over and stay, but we wouldn't be under each other's feet, and they could have their own space and have a holiday as well. Close to the sea, be able to see the sea from where I was living. It's quite appropriate for dogs, garden that's fenced in for dogs, the pool. I'd got this big list and on a modest budget at the time. So some might have looked at that and gone, that's quite a big ask really for your financial budget and everything else that you're looking for. But I just trusted that it was going to work out. And James kept like bringing up little things like, what we're going to do about moving out of this camper van, then I was like, it's just going to work out, like that list, that's what we want, that's what's going to happen. We just need to look for the signs now. And just totally and utterly trusted. A few weeks later, one of my best friends, and actually the mindset coach who works within my program, the Women's Wealth Accelerator, she's phenomenal. She rang me and said, Michelle, do you fancy doing a joint retreat in Lanzarote? There's these villas that we can rent. She talked me through it, and I was like, oh, okay, let me have a think about it. I put the phone down, and my initial brain funk reaction was, oh, Lanzarote, I've heard that called Lanzagrotte. You know, I'd listened to somebody else's belief about what the place was like. I'm not sure I want to go there. But the other part of myself, when I quiet my mind to listen to it, was saying, go to Lanzarote. So we got on the plane and we went, and we did this retreat. Within a couple of days of me being there, I started to look around and I was like, wow, I quite like it here. It feels special, it feels right. You know that feeling of like, it feels right? A little bit like when you're viewing houses. I've heard other people say they'll walk in and they know within a couple of minutes if it's the house for them or not. You're being guided by that same thing that I'm describing. And that's how I felt about the island. I was like, wow, this feels right. The blue sky, not too far away from the UK, the sea, all year round sun, cactus, palm trees, all of the things that was on the list. However, when we started to have a little look online to see if it was possible and look for rentals, there was not a rental anywhere online. Couldn't find one anywhere up for let. And that was really confusing because I thought, why would there not be houses to let? On further research, what I realised was it's because the holiday market's so great because of the year-round sun that investors rent out their properties on for holiday let. They don't rent them out long term because it's not as lucrative. So you physically cannot, it's so difficult to get a long-term rental on the island. People just don't offer them. And it's a common fact on the island still now. But I didn't let that deflate me. I just thought, do you know, if I'm meant to be here, I'll be here. And I trust that if this is the place I'm meant to be, then this is the place that I'll be. Now, around that time, I had a spiritual reading with a lady on the phone. She was recommended as being incredible. I booked with her. It happened literally the next day. It was all really quick. She's like, I've got an appointment tomorrow. An hour slot. I was like, okay, I'll take it. And suddenly I'm on the phone to this woman. She couldn't see me. She didn't know my name on Facebook. She didn't know anything about me. One of the things she said to me was, at the moment you're in a transition, you're going to be moving abroad, you're going to be looking for somewhere to live. It's all going to work out for you. And she said, you'll know when you're home because you'll be able to see the lighthouse. And that was her exact words. And I kind of said, okay, that was it. Didn't think too much of it after that. While we were in Lanzarote, I messaged a friend who's lived there for a while now and said, look, just on the off chance that you might know somebody that has a rental property or somebody that might, you can point me in the direction. Because we really like it here and we're thinking about coming and renting for a while to see how we get on. And she said, I can't believe you just messaged me that. It was really weird the way it all happened. Her mum actually had a house that she was in the process of wondering what to do with it. They'd had a real tragedy in the family and suffered major loss. and this house had lots of memories in it, and they didn't want to put it on the holiday market, they didn't want anybody in there, but they didn't know what to do with it. And then I'd sent that message, and she said, so you can come and have a look if you want. I said, if it's going to be a fit, but you can have a look. Other than that, you're going to really struggle because there's no long-term lets on the island. I was like, great, we'll have a look. So we walked around this house, and the series of steps that brought us to this point were just incredible, because like it was perfect. It had a little granny flat annex for where my family could stay, and they'd have their own space. It had palm trees in the garden, cactus in the garden, you could see the sea from the garden, obviously blue sky, pool, all the things that we had on the list. But all I could think was, it's quite a large house, property is so expensive to rent in Lanzarote, is it going to be in our budget? And I just said to her, look, if it's in the budget, then we'll take it, I think it's amazing. She came back and it was in the budget to the penny. The figure that I'd said I could do, like on paper, that what I'd written down, was the exact figure she came back with. So I said, great, we'll take it. And we moved within 6 weeks. Didn't allow fear to step in. I didn't allow the voice of, what are you doing? You're moving to a foreign country. You've only been there for 5 days. What are you doing? Suddenly you're moving. It felt right, and I went with it. And on the first night in our new home, we were sat in the lounge looking out, and it was pitch black outside, the double patio doors, and I could see this light. And I was like, James, is that a plane? And he was like, I hope not. If it's a plane, it's doing some really weird shit. And I opened the door, looked, and it was a lighthouse. I could cry now just telling you this story, and I burst out crying. I was like, James, oh, it's a lighthouse. We are exactly where we're meant to be right now. And it was just the biggest moment for me, because I spent all that time trusting the process, allowing, relaxing, and it's like someone's just put their arms around you and gone, I've got you. You know, when you get that validation. I'm sorry I'm getting emotional, but it moves me every time. Where I'm living now, I was guided here in the exact same way. The people I work with in business, the way I work, everything has been guided, totally guided, and it's beautiful. And life takes on a special kind of meaning. It really does. It takes on an incredible, mind-blowing kind of... Life is just simply beautiful when you choose to live it this way. It really is. Anything your heart desires, it can be delivered to you. It's meant for you. You deserve it. You're worth it. It's what the universe wants for you. It wants to gift you all the things that you want, but you just get out of fear and relax into it and know that you're taken care of. You know, you've got this, it's got this. You won't always know how, why, or when. So many more examples I could share with you on things like this that have happened that are truly magical. I'm thinking about writing another book actually that's just full of these stories, because these stories are the things that when I heard other people's, it gave me hope. In the moments where you're like, oh shit, this isn't working out. Why is it not working out? Why are these things not happening? Why do I feel really far away from where I want to be? Of course we have those moments. I've had those moments. It's not been smooth always. It's other people's stories that have always helped me through those moments. So sharing these here and having this space with you every week to do these things is really important to me, because if there's anybody that's about to give up and throw their arms up in the air and go, fuck the universe, I'm going to go back in my own head and start trying to work it all out and screw alignment and all of that, if you're about to give up on that stuff, hopefully I can inspire you to hold on, because I promise you it'll be worth it, and life is really special when you choose to live it this way. And that's me for tonight on fear and getting out of it and getting out of your own way. I really hope it's helped even just one person. If it's helped you to shift some fear in some way, then I'm really, really happy. I'd love you to share this tonight with anybody at all that you feel would get value. If you can share it, hit share. The more people that see it, the better. The more people that are out of their heads and in their hearts and living the life that they're meant to live, then the better the world that we're part of. It's as easy as that, as simple as that. And thank you for logging in tonight. Lots of love.